Hello there, friends and kin. I hope you are all very well. And thank you for taking the time to join me on this humid early afternoon. Probably see the sweat dripping off my head. We've been having a lot of storms here lately, which is great. We've been in drought conditions, and so getting all this rain really is a blessing. And I'm certainly not going to scoff at it. But the downside is that when the rain lets up and the sun starts peeking through the clouds, everything turns into a sauna. And for those of you that live in the South, you definitely understand what I'm talking about. And where I live, we don't even get the worst of it. Uh, the bottom of the Gulf Coast states definitely see the worst of that. Uh, Louisiana in the summertime is not for the faint of heart. And I've only been to that part of the country once. And and when I went, it was in February, March time frame, and it was kind of uncomfortable then some days. So I know I could not stand it in the summer. But either way, I'm very grateful for the rain, even if I've got to endure a little bit of mugginess to pay the price tag for it. I'll take it. I'd much rather have that than all the greenery here dying off as a result of not getting enough water. Today I'm smoking on a one of the cigars from a relatively new product line called Oz, and I believe the name is Osgerner. And that's the only thing I know about it is that they're blended by the gentleman that used to be the head of CAO before CAO was bought out. And I can't remember which company bought them out, but either way, when he decided to retire from that line, I believe he had to sign a no compete clause, so he kind of backed out of the industry for a bit, and that has since expired. So he now has his own line. They're amazing. I love them. Uh, and I mean, by today's standards, moderately priced and very well made, and very unique flavor profiles. In fact, I almost forgot. Let me grab the label. I use cigar labels as bookmarks a lot. And I bookmarked a poem here, but this is what the labels look like. And this is the Caratoba, and little on the fuller bodied side, but that's about where I like it. But I love the logo. But yeah, I tend to use cigar bands as makeshift bookmarks. This is a relatively new acquisition for me. And earlier in part of the Sundee service that I do not video, where I give offerings to my local spirits and read to them, directly to them. Some selections out of here is what I read to them today. And this is a great little collection. It's part of the Everyman's Library series. And there are selections in here really from all over the map. Everything from Thomas to Ursadoun, from the Ballad of Thomas the Rhymer, selections from Shakespeare. Um, I mean, it's very thorough and very well categorized too. And so far, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you would like selections of fairy faith and fairy tradition inspired poems to utilize, this is a great little resource. And because of its small and compact size, you can slide it into just about any bag or box, whatever you make your mobile ritual kit out of, and pack it into. It's a great little addition for that. So today for our reading, because last time we finished Roger Horn's Carmina Magistri, we read the final verse in it. I picked this up just a couple of days ago. It's called Sacred Earth, Sacred Soul by John Philip Newell. And I have one other of his books, and he is what I would call a mystic, esoteric Christian, and I don't mind studying ideas from that perspective, because I do think there is a lot of I think there's a lot of old ways thinking that survived into that tradition of Celtic spirituality and Celtic Christianity that people like John O'Donohue and Frank McEwen and this guy pull from. Um, the flavor of Christianity that was propagated in particularly in Ireland and somewhat in Scotland and various rural areas of England, again, it was a very different flavor than the Christianity that was found on the continent and throughout other parts of Europe. And primarily because when Rome started to kind of fall apart and have its own internal struggles and internal bureaucratic warfare, uh, the Christianity that began to evolve in amongst the Celtic peoples just took on its own identity, and they ran with it for generations. And if you look, and this is the same type of that tradition that evolved there, isolated and unique, gave birth to the Carmina Gadelica, a collection of hymns and poems that are all of religious nature, and you can tell that they reference Christian icons and Christian characters. But there's also something flowing beneath the surface of it that you can tell is not biblically based. It comes from somewhere else. And I think the rational assumption is that it came from certain spiritual understandings and conceptualizations that existed prior to the arrival of Christianity. Being cut off from the church proper allowed them to pull from their own well of ancestral wisdom, and they wove it into their Christianity, which is, that's not uncommon. That has happened elsewhere, and elsewhere it gave rise to the birth of traditions like hoodoo and voodoo and Santeria, and so there's precedence for that elsewhere in history. But I do think that exposing myself to people that drink from that well and the ideas that circulate amongst them, I do find them beneficial in my own spiritual work, my own spiritual path. Again, because I can tell that there's roots there that pull from something deeper and something much older. It is so humid out here that my cigar goes out like immediately if I quit puffing on it. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the introduction here, because I think just opening right up, Mr. Newell kind of slaps us across the face with a couple of really potent ideas. We know things in the core of our being that we have not necessarily been taught. And some of this deep knowing may actually be at odds with what our society or religion has tried to teach us. This book is about reawakening to what we know in the depths of our being, that the earth is sacred, and that this sacredness is at the heart of every human being and life form. To awaken again to this deep knowing is to be transformed in the ways we choose to live and relate and act. The idea that what is deepest in us corresponds to what is true is not a new concept. From the ancient Greek philosopher Plato to the 20th century founder of analytical psychology, Carl Jung, and many others in between, It has been argued that for us to recognize truth, there must be something within us that already knows it. And most important, we have all experienced this correlation within ourselves and witnessed it in others. Why was there such concern around the world during the Australian fires of 2019 when millions of creatures were dying in a blaze? Why did the hashtag #MeToo movement take off so quickly in recent years, in which hundreds of thousands of women came forward to speak out against abuse? Why did the Black Lives Matter protests burst onto the international stage within days of the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis? In each of these situations, deep down, we knew something sacred was at stake. And we broke up. We woke up. There was a Freudian slip. We broke up. We'll return to that in just a minute. The problem is that we keep going back to sleep, or otherwise live in ways that neglect this deep knowing. Thus, the crisis that we are in the midst of today, whether ecological, political, or societal, stem from the fact that we treat the earth and one another as less than sacred. All these critical issues are interrelated. The way we have wronged the earth is the way we have dishonored the feminine or belittled the other, whether that is the other nation, religion, race, or sexual orientation. We have fallen out of alignment with the deepest truths within us. How are we to awaken again to the sacredness at the heart of all life, the sacredness that is also at the heart of our own being? That's where I'm going to stop. These are some really powerful words, and I'm going to get back to that Freudian slip I had just a minute ago, because there's to this awakening that Mr. Newell is talking about when our attention is brought to some sort of tragedy or some sort of injustice. We do experience that wake up he's talking about, where it's like, you know what? Maybe Black Americans really are treated like less than human, and we're less concerned about their lives than we are those of other ethnicities. We've all seen that, whether we want to own up to it or not. That is very real. Here's a good example from my personal life where I see it, and I see it constantly. I'm a true crime fan, and I enjoy watching mysteries get solved, and also justice brought to people that have it coming. I love watching a bad guy get caught, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing within me. I'd like to think it's good because I like to see justice done, but man, that's a whole other can of worms. But in the missing persons cases that I learn about in research, I have noticed that a lot of times when it is African American individuals, their cases don't get anywhere near as much attention. And I know that there are people that would argue that point with me, and I'm sorry, friends and kin, that's denial. That is a very real thing. On the national level, the country tends to care far less about missing African Americans than they do anybody else. And whenever a white girl goes missing, and this has happened several times in my own home state of South Carolina, whenever a white girl goes missing, or white children, we call in the National Guard. We plaster their faces on every billboard, show their picture on every news station. And if it's a black girl or a black child, they're lucky to get a 3-second blurb on the evening news. And people literally care less about black lives. And it took me, I was in denial about it, especially when the Black Lives Matter movement first became a thing. I was in total denial about it. I interpreted it, and I'll be honest, be totally honest. My initial interpretation is you want your life to matter more than mine. You want attention to be given to your demographic above everyone else's. And I will say, I do think that there are some individuals that feel that way. Same way as there's a good chunk of white people that feel that way. They want their concerns to matter more than anyone else's, and that's not an accusation. That is definitely true. Um, the heart of that particular issue, there's a word for it. It's called ethnocentrism, and it's not unique to any one racial demographic. You go anywhere in the world and find it. Um, World War II in Japan is a prime example of where it existed outside the context of Western civilization. The Japanese most certainly put their lives above all others and really didn't give a rat's ass about any of the other Asian ethnic groups around them. Their lives were less than human. Ethnocentrism, ironically, is colorblind and has no racial preferences. Let that cook your noodle for a while. But no, I was definitely a denier when it came to people trying to push the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, here's where I want to zoom in on that Freudian slip I had, where instead of wake up, I said, or woke up, I said broke up, because that Freudian slip was very significant. When I first read those words yesterday, when I was cracking this book open, I stopped in the same place I stopped reading for you, and I started really thinking about the ideas that were communicated there. And then I thought about the negative other side of that waking up phenomenon. Because whenever people wake up to an injustice or to the fact that something is wrong, there never fails to be either an individual or a group of individuals who sees the opportunity to exploit that awakening to their own devices, to their own advantage. And they utilize it as a way to break us up and divide us and keep pushing divisive um, divisive motives, divisive ideologies. And it's a very sad truth. And that is, forgive me if I dip a little bit into conspiracy theory here, but it's really the only conspiracy I give any credit to. And that's that the people that really run the world, it's within their best interest to keep us all at each other's throats and blaming each other for all the problems in the world, because it keeps the spotlight off them as far as blame, having the spotlight of blame placed on them. And it also gives them the space to be able to say, hey, keep voting for me and give me more and more power and authority, and I will make sure you're safe and protected, and I will solve all your problems, and you won't have to worry about a thing. You'll have plenty of food on the table, plenty of money in your bank account, plenty of gas in your car, and you'll be able to maintain the quality of life that keeps you comfortable. It's an age-old tactic, and it has produced some of the most horrific chapters in human history, including the regimes that came into power under Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. Give me all the power, I'll solve all your problems. Oh, and by the way, this one demographic of people over here, everything that's wrong in your life, everything that makes you uncomfortable, unhappy, dissatisfied, it is all their fault. And I will punish them if you keep me in power. And sadly, it's a trick we keep falling for. And this whole part about the problem is that we keep going back to sleep, or otherwise live in ways that neglect this deep knowing. This knowing that Mr. Newell is talking about, the people that want to be the living Godhead on earth, I'm talking about the rich, the elite. I don't bother giving them names because their names really don't matter, in spite of the fact that they are, as powerful as they are disposable, they are expendable, because there is a collective of individuals competing for those seats of power, and the second one of them is eliminated, there's a vacuum created, there's 20 more waiting in the wings to slip in and take that position. So their names, their identities, the color of their skin, the countries they're from, the creeds they adhere to do not matter, because they're all expendable. But the one thing they have in common is a very firm interest in keeping us asleep. Because as long as we're asleep, we're manageable. As long as we're lulled into this state of comforted bliss. It's like getting a shot of morphine or heroin in your arm. You're kept comfortable, happy, in a state of just enough euphoria to where you don't want to rock the boat. And you don't want to question things, because if you question things, the boat gets rocked. And if the boat gets rocked, you might fall out. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And so they give us bread and circuses to keep us entertained and make sure we psychologically, emotionally, spiritually stay asleep. How do we fight that? I don't really know. Over the course of my life, I've tried to get involved with one cause or another, thinking that, this group or that had the answer to waking people up and helping us take back our own sovereignty. But usually what I always find at the core of each one of those ideologies or each one of those groups is just some jackass that's looking for a group of people to inflate their ego. And the core of it is usually a mix of not just egotism. There's also vindictiveness and spite, people that just want to hurt the demographics they feel are responsible for their unhappiness and their fear and their misery. And I got fed up with that a long time ago. I want answers, not excuses. I want to find a way to improve myself, not punish the people that think ill of me or have acted out against me, because in all honesty, fuck those people. If somebody disapproves of the way I live, and wants to cast their judgment on me and look down on me, so what? I really don't care. Their opinion of me has no power over me. And as long as that remains the same, I'm content to leave them be. As long as I have my space to pursue the things that are meaningful to me, and I can maintain relationships with people I love and care about, that's really the most important thing to me. The rest of the world can fuck right on off for all I care. And for the things I care about, I will give my blood, sweat, tears, heart, and soul to. But the second something becomes a detriment to me, I have no problems just walking away and letting it go. There's no reason to be hateful, spiteful, or vindictive. The only people hurt by those emotions, well, the only thing that is hurt by those emotions is me. Why am I going to drink poison hoping that another person gets sick and dies? It makes no sense. And what I just read plays a very, very big role, friends and kin, in what I want to promote on this channel. And that's, let us help each other. You know, I'm not going to dictate shit to you. All I'm going to do is share my experiences with you, and hope that you feel inclined to do the same with me, whether it's in the comments on these videos, or you're connected with me on some other social media platform, and we talk and share ideas about the things that are meaningful and important to us, and hopefully we come up with ways to wake ourselves up and stay awake. That's what I want. And maybe identify the attitude, the behaviors, attitudes, values, and beliefs that are destructive and detrimental to that awakening and remaining awake. And those are the thoughts I'm going to leave you with. Let's do a quick card pull for weekly guidance. Nine of Spades, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually a very fitting card for what we just talked about. Spades. Spades are the suit of conflict, struggle, strife, obstacles, can even be violence. More so than anything, the spades also covered death. This is the suit of winter. The nine of spades is the funeral road. That is the pallbearers carrying the casket down the aisle. It's the act of letting something go. And in the case of what we've been discussing here today, friends and kin, we need to identify those behaviors, attitudes, values, and beliefs that are detrimental to the act of waking up, detrimental to the act of staying awake. And I'm not going to dictate to you what those are. Figuring out what those are is part of your journey, and that is your responsibility to figure those things out. If you share your findings and your results to help other people navigate along the way, that's fine. But it's not up to any of us to tell another person what their detrimental traits are, what their flaws, defects, and character, what their character defects are. You understand what I'm getting at, I'm sure. But it's our responsibility, once we find out what those traits are, those detrimental traits are, pack them up in the casket, carry them down the aisle, let them go. Easier said than done 99% of the time. Doesn't change the fact that it needs to be done. And that, friends and kin, is the thought I'll leave you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me today, for coming by for a visit, having a cigar with me if you want. I appreciate this time we get to spend together. You have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Sunday.